It's June the 25th, 2015. This is 5-Way to Show About Worcester. We're here in the Winslow Street Peace Park. We get a drone up here. You want to bring it down? Here it is. Chris Markman is our guest on the show today. Thanks for being on, man.
Happy to be here.
Cool. Let's go sit down and talk about this doohickey. Four little helicopter blades.
Yeah.
Also on the show today, Brendan Melican. How you doing, Brendan?
I'm good. I don't fly, so I'm a little jealous right now, but that was pretty awesome.
So Chris is a Clark staffer and grad student, bon vivant, hobbyist of many sorts. What's the first question we got to ask about this drone, Brendan?
I'm kind of in awe right now. I don't know. What's the first question?
What is this? For people who don't know what this is, how do you explain this?
So this is the DJI Phantom 1. There's
a
couple different versions now.
Put it on the table here in front of you.
I've got it hooked up with a GoPro.
So you got a little camera down
stabilizer
here.
There.
Okay.
Also, recent upgrades, first-person view goggles, so I can see what it sees when it's up in the air.
Okay.
So that's new.
How long have you been flying these things?
About a year and a half now.
Yeah. Is this your first?
It's actually the second one. So I started with one of the smaller, like indoor use ones, just to get used to the controls.
Yeah. Was it hard to pick up the controls and whatnot on it?
The indoor one is actually harder to fly. So that's what's interesting about this one, is that like as the drones get better, this one has GPS built in, and it like can compensate for wind, and it can do all kinds of crazy stuff.
So you can make an argument that you need the drone more than the drone needs you at this point, right? That's like.
Yeah, I guess in a way. I mean, the funny thing is like the controls. It's not a one-to-one thing. It's just sort of like I give it a suggestion to go this fast, this high, but it's going to do whatever it needs to do to compensate for the wind or to.
Very nice.
The newer ones actually have a collision detection system. So it's got 4 cameras built in on all the sides, and it won't run into things.
Okay.
Like, this one will just, it could break it pretty easily by just flying into a brick wall like that.
Yeah, we don't want to see that.
We don't want
And this sort of navigates from a combination of this controller and GPS.
Right. Yeah. So this has a fly back to home features. So if it gets out of range of the transmitter, it will. I mean, I've never tested this, but in theory, it should know where it started and fly back. So.
Does the GPS help with wind, and you're dealing with wind and stuff like that, or do you have to be constantly?
Yeah, and that's actually something that is kind of fun to play with when you're doing video or photo type stuff, because I can turn off the GPS and sort of have this really cool like dolly shot that'll just sort of fly through the wind.
And you've done a lot. I mean, we should say Chris is also well known for the web series "This Car Survived Kelley Square," also the bumper sticker of "This Car Survived Kelley Square," and you've done a ton of drone videos of Worcester, which is how we first became aware of your amazing work. Yeah.
Yeah, it's been it's fun actually. I posted a new one earlier today of the thunderstorm. A couple days ago on Taste the Shrewsbury Street.
I actually saw that on Reddit this morning.
Oh
That was this afternoon.
I'm gonna put that video on here. As you mentioned the videos, I'll just throw your videos in the show. Yeah.
So the fly back to home thing, I mean, that's gonna be the future of Disney movies right there. Like we used to have like talking dogs and cats like would get lost and left behind and then have to find their way home. It's gonna be drones that are like little googly eyes that are gonna be on Disney camera, Disney films that get lost from their owners and find their way home.
I like that idea.
Yeah.
I like that idea. What has been your experience flying this around the city of Worcester?
It's funny because every time, like, I want to say every time, but 90% of the time someone asks me a question about it or comes up and like wants to know more, or I usually give them a bumper sticker, or like it just, I don't know. Kids are really intrigued by it, which is cool, but also sort of nerve-wracking at the same time because it is dangerous. It's not a toy, even though it looks like a toy. But yeah, it's been interesting too, just to see the city from a different perspective. So we don't have all the skyscrapers and everything that.
Does the city look better or worse from the air?
I think it looks pretty cool, actually.
Oh, yeah? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So when you mentioned the the attention it gets, people being curious and whatnot. In the press, you tend to only hear stories about drones hitting planes, drones hitting skyscrapers, and then falling into a big crowd of people, or people on the beach feeling as though they're being spied upon and flipping out and attacking people. Have you had any negative experience at all, or is it mostly just like curiosity, like that's pretty awesome, or nobody's tried to shoot you out of the sky?
Yeah, no one's. I mean, one guy asked me, he thought he saw a UFO, and he was like making sure that I was the one flying. I was like, yeah, you're fine. But
that was my UFO.
Yeah.
That's right. Okay.
Yeah, so
Take
it's
me to your leader.
No one's. Yeah, I mean, I think in general, if you're, not being weird about it, like trying to hide that you're flying something, like people just assume you're.
Any interaction with law enforcement or anything along those lines? That.
I've heard people online saying that like they got questions.
Yeah, I just mean with you. Like, have you had any interaction at all with like Worcester Police Department?
I know not to fly near the airport and stuff like that. That's fair enough. But
are there a lot of drones above the city at any given time? Civilian drones?
I have no idea.
Because I've heard, I'm aware of yours, and then I've heard about, for example, people listening in on the police scanner to like incidents around WPI or whatever, but never. I don't think I've ever actually seen a civilian drone.
I keep hearing more and more from folks that work in advertising and whatnot that there's a ton of them out there being used for technically you can't use them for commercial purposes, but skirting around those regulations. So it sounds like there's more and more out there. Maybe I'm not looking up enough and I'm not seeing them. But
that's why I just wonder if this is a trend which is hit Worcester hard and we just don't notice it, or if it's a trend that Worcester is maybe not the hotbed of drones.
I mean, the crazy thing is, like, if you got up, say, above 400 feet, unless you knew to look in that direction, you would never have. I mean, it's just a small dot.
So how high can this fly?
I've seen videos of people going like a couple thousand feet in the air.
Really?
I've never tested the limits or anything. I think technically like under 400 feet is like unregulated airspace.
Okay.
So.
You know that the world Zeppelin altitude level at one point had been set in Worcester, right?
I've heard.
I'm just saying.
The history of.
There's a connection there.
Yeah.
Now I'm going to be paranoid and constantly looking up if they can be, if even the commercial stuff can be that high. That's.
Yeah.
Watch the skies.
Yeah. I mean, this has tons of LED lights and stuff. And
you might notice them. So when you were doing the videos over Kelley Square, initially, the first ones I saw anyways, how high were you flying with those? Because they were pretty good shots of Kelley Square.
Yeah.
I mean, it was...
I mean, at that point, I was kind of just guessing because they didn't have the goggles.
Okay.
They give you all that the elevation data and stuff. But now that I've been at the same spot with the goggles, I'm about 100, 150 feet in the air. It's
not crazy high, but still high enough where someone's probably not going to notice.
Yeah, I mean,
walking by. Yeah. Nobody looks up anymore. Everyone's always looking at their shoes.
Yeah, I've actually had a couple coworkers who were driving on 290 and they saw something in there. It's like, just immediately think it was me. It's like, no, I'm not.
That's somebody else's drone.
Yeah.
All right.
There's actually another person on Facebook I found that's doing the same sort of aerial shots in Worcester. So I've met him, but I actually just sent the video. So yeah.
Well, other drone guy, if you're out there watching, I'd love to have you on too. Maybe we can get the drone families together.
That would be awesome. That would be awesome. Let's talk about your other project that you're famous for on the internet, or there's at least one other project that you're famous for on the internet, which is this Car Survived Kelley Square. Can we include one of those episodes in this episode?
Sure.
Let's do it.
There you go. I like it.
Thanks.
The year 2014. The city, Worcester, Massachusetts.
There exists a crossroads of staggering, blind aggression, a life-sized puzzle made by human hands to test our very nature. This is Kelley Square, or something like it.
You've never driven with me, have you? Well, maybe you have, and that's why you won't limit your car.
Why should I be nervous right now?
I drive like I talk. Do you have anxiety about Kelley Square?
I guess, yeah.
Okay.
That's the.
See, I have none.
Yeah.
I just get mad at people who drive through here with trepidation. You have trepidation and you're going through there, you're screwed, because you're just going to get stuck. Take it. It's a turn. Own it. You know, my theory is someone doesn't want me to hit them with my big red SUV. And I think, like, my worst memory at Kelley Square is the fact that I lost my wedding ring in that parking lot, getting ready for Start on the Street. We were cleaning it, and I stupidly put it in my pocket, and at some point pulled something out of my pocket, and at the end of the day, my wedding ring was gone. And we spent days down there with metal detectors, but you know what the parking lot was an old factory that got pulled down. So picture all the metal that they have. But yeah, so my greatest memory at Kelley Square is just, you know, living right by it. So in the drive, like, growing up in this town is, you know, every little shortcut going in.
Yeah.
I'm coming out.
Oh, look at that.
Look at that. Look at us not getting stuck in traffic. We can go get a beer now.
So how did this project, how did this come about?
I mean, it actually started with just the. I don't know. I have a friend at Clark who have worked on video projects before. Is like, we need to do something. We need to collaborate on something. So, that was kind of like stewing in our brains for a year or so, thinking about different ways to do like a Kelley Square type documentary. And then I think it was. I don't know if there's the Seinfeld comedians and cars and coffee thing. It's sort of a similar premise, but I thought like Kelley Square is sort of its own sort of a combination of that plus the the camera that you get on the roller coaster as you're going down. Like sort of, I wanted just like people's like immediate sort of visceral reaction to that.
You don't want to really risk vintage, high-end luxury cars going through Kelley Square.
Yeah.
You're probably taking the right approach to that.
Yeah. It's my own version of that style interviewing this. But
now, is your background in video production? Okay.
Yeah.
What kind of video production were you doing before you got focused on this and death traps on the roadways?
I mean, so I was a film major, screen studies major at Clark. I did a lot of documentary and experimental stuff. This is, I mean, all experimental because every shot I get with the drone is sort of like completely.
Well, so from like a professional background as a film maker or on the production side, do you think that there's like this is where film production is headed in some capacity, or is there still more traditional techniques that can be replicated more reasonably, more cost-effective or whatnot? It seems like people are trying to find ways to shoehorn drones into current production and whatnot, but it's hard to tell whether or not it's just because it's a new thing and we might as well use that, or if it's still easier to put a dolly together and get a cool shot that way.
I mean, when you compare the cost of like a professional aerial photography setup, like just the cost of gas for a helicopter would
That's
be
what I was thinking. I mean, I've seen a lot of, I guess, commercial work for real estate. It seems like it'll be like videos of sprawling estates and whatnot, and you can imagine that in that case, this makes more sense than the helicopter setup does. But at the same time, like you see a lot of folks like advertising and people doing fly-throughs of buildings for architecture and whatnot, and it's like, well, you could have just put a camera on a skateboard and rolled it through the hallway and saved yourself some time and money and whatnot. It's hard to tell whether or not the technology is really something that's going to be necessary for that world, or if it's just another trick to have.
It is kind of I don't know. I feel like it's sort of been like the year of the drone. Like these, like they're everywhere now, and there still are a lot of shots that would be really impractical or impossible to get without something as small as this. So I mean, maybe.
And pornography is using them now too, and that's usually a good sign that something is being taken seriously in filmmaking. Is that just like things like YouTube and whatnot wouldn't have existed if not for the pornography industry. If pornography is going to drones, we could probably assume that they're here to stay.
No, and I mean they're just getting smaller and easier to fly, so it's.
Yeah. Any bad bang ups of this?
Yeah, I did. So the worst crash, I actually broke. I mean, I didn't break one of the arms, but it bent enough that I had to get like a heat gun and sort of just like bend the plastic back.
Okay.
So it's. I mean, it's an outer shell. Most of the electronics are pretty well protected in there. So, I mean, apart from, I mean, I've replaced all the blades because those will get banged up pretty quickly if you're on gravel or this or whatever and trying to land. So yeah, I mean it's I kind of wish I had a second one just in case like something really bad happened while I was out, but because I mean it's electronics, it can fail. It's not like the battery could just explode. Like
and failing from a couple thousand feet can't end well for
yeah.
It'd be fine for you, but for it,
So yeah, apart from that, it's amazing how easy it is to fly because, like, and just to go back a couple years and like I think it has mostly to do with the size of the electronics. Like, now we can fit more in there, and it will just sort of, it knows where it should be, so it can compensate for the wind.
Sure.
It can fly back to home. The newer ones, there's even like iPad apps where you can tell it where to go. So, like, this is becoming even less necessary.
Do you find that is drone the right word to use for this, right? Or does that end up confusing people with nefarious NSA spy drones and predator drones and whatnot? Like, is there better terminology to be using?
I've just been saying drone, but really, I mean that kind of it does bring up some negative feelings for a lot of people. So,
but you don't have
technically
like
a UAS.
You don't have any sort of
UAS is unmanned.
Unmanned, aerial,
something. Okay.
Not a UAV because a vehicle implies that someone's actually inside of it.
Okay.
Doing it, but
and you don't have access to Hellfire missiles or anything from this. You're not a threat to the city of Worcester in any. Okay.
No. So what's down here is just like a camera on a gimbal or whatever that is.
Oh yeah,
and
I should unplug those too.
Oh, there's a flashing light on the back.
Yeah.
And there's a little. What is this little doohickey here about?
So that's the transmitter for the first-person view stuff.
Okay.
So that takes
So
the video
antenna.
feed from there, and connects up to. Oops.
That is pretty cool.
I've had to, drill various holes in this and solder things, and it's kind of turning into a Frankenstein type project at this point, but
it's pretty awesome. Well, I gotta geek out about Worcester politics for a second, if that's okay. Feel free to throw in your 2 cents if you want. So, Brendan, I just want to touch on what the city council's up to, because we haven't done a lot of shows in recent months. There's many topics of public interest that we keep skipping.
That's okay, because they haven't done much in many months. So
well,
I think we're actually keeping pace in a weird
They
sort
do
of
stuff.
way.
They do stuff. I'm gonna talk about stuff that we've actually talked about here on the show. There's going to be a big tax incentive financing for a project building a giant industrial building in Quincy Village at 150 Blackstone River Road. There's some sort of changes that have been made to the city's foreclosure ordinances, which I don't understand. I've read the thing and I've read the executive summary of the thing, and I still don't understand whether they're good or bad or what they are.
I hope you're not aiming the camera at me for some sort of insight as to what you don't understand.
I'm aiming it at you to validate. I don't understand. Brendan is nodding his head. Yes, you don't understand.
I also do not understand.
All right.
I'm sure it's very important, though.
Ariel Lim is now on the Community Development Advisory Committee. The city is planning to make it easier to operate some food trucks. They're going to do like a pilot program, I guess.
Well, I heard that they're going to be taking public comment on the city's website first.
Yeah.
So if you have strong opinions one way or the other on food trucks, apparently sometime in the near future you'll be able to go to the city website and submit some sort of testimony. This is part of the crowdsourcing idea of public input that's been kicked around the council for a while now. So yeah, hop online, go to the city's website. Maybe you can renew your dog license or update your voter registration, and then offer some testimony in regards to food trucks.
Just say like, yeah, I would be happy to buy food from a good food truck.
But
sure.
Don't mistake this for being, if you're at home and high or something, like don't think that they're just gonna you can order like food this way, right? Like don't be asking someone to bring a food truck to your house because you're hungry.
Don't post comments that are rude or have swears in them
Never
either.
encourage that sort of thing.
Don't do that. The city's going to get 3 new murals, one at 19 McKeon Road, one at 50 Water Street, and one on the side of the Raven up the street here. This mural people have been talking about for a long time, and there were some problems with the financing, and I guess the problems with the financing have cleared up, so that's cool. The city manager is going to be officially evaluated by the city council next week. And the city has been doing its capital budget. I would define capital budget as buying physical objects. Does that sound about right to you?
That sounds about right.
So capital,
or putting money into physical objects.
Putting money into physical objects. These would include replacing 2 fire engines for $930,000, half coming from not the city, other sources. We're going to make the water fountains at the DCU Center accessible for $9,600.
Where are they now that they can't be accessed?
I don't know. Did they
put them all in a locked closet somewhere?
I think it means handicapped accessible. Okay. So they're probably just
right.
They're probably like those old school ones where you have to be able to stand up, or you can't use a wheelchair to get to them. We're going to replace the stage lift at the DCU for $12,000. Get a new commercial popcorn popper at the DCU for $12,000.
We should have one of those at City Hall.
I want to see
the
this.
People that would be coming to city council meetings if you had a professional popcorn popper out in the outside of the Esther Outland
Chamber.
Yeah.
What if we had the world's largest commercial popcorn popper? Actually, we couldn't fit it in City Hall.
We wouldn't.
It probably would be a factory.
We'll keep working on the world's largest rubber ball band.
All right. We're gonna get some dump trucks.
Rubber band ball. That's
Some 5-ton trucks, some 1-ton trucks. We're gonna get a new cell room wagon for the Worcester Police Department, which is $59,000. No, $59,000. $30,000 for forensic unit equipment, a film scanner for $14,000. And a bunch of marked and unmarked cruisers.
Hate to interrupt. Potential juggalo walking by.
We'll talk to him next week. We can't talk about juggalos today. Anyway, there's just a ton of stuff.
Is there any thing about drones in there, any of those line items?
No, there's nothing about drones that I can see.
That seems to be money's wasted then.
Some wayfinding is going to happen. People are still talking about dog parks. That's not municipal whatever. That's not capital budget stuff, but people are still talking about, are we going to have a dog park in the city of Worcester? People are still talking about, are we going to have a medical marijuana dispensary in Worcester? Apparently this is back on the table after being off the table.
The Good Chemistry from Colorado hosted a public meeting last night at their proposed venue down off of between Green and Harding Street there. They're going to be resubmitting their application on June 29th in hopes of getting a license from the state to sell medical marijuana in Worcester. And then I think there's a meeting next Wednesday. Today's the 25th, so whenever Wednesday is, in regards to the dog park. It's going to be at 5:30 City Hall. The Parks and Recreation Committee will be hearing testimony on our need for a dog park.
I don't believe we're ever going to have a dog park. It'll never, ever happen. Anyway.
We'll find a reason to scuttle that.
Anyway, Chris Markman, thanks for being on the show.
Hey,
Brendan Melican, thanks for being on the show.
It's a pleasure.
I'm Michael Benedetti. The email address for this show is pieandcoffee@gmail.com. We'll talk to you next week. Bye-bye, everybody.